For fun. So what are we doing today? That has been my introduction for the past 5 years now. Feels weird saying 5 years when it comes to tabletop role-playing game development, mostly in my little corner I have here. Today's going to be a little bit of a weird video, and it's going to be a weird video because it's going to be a white text on black screen video, which is to say completely unscripted and about quote-unquote serious stuff. But don't worry. First things first, I want to say thank you all for sticking with me these 5 years. I think you've all been immensely kind and immensely helpful. I love all of you people. No matter what I say to you or what horrific things I have implied about some of you, I do actually genuinely like all of you, and I thank you for being here. First off, though, I want to say apologies for the various delays, problems, and issues this year and late last year. Life got in the way for me, and there was just problems after problems after problems. And when you have problems after problems, you just kind of start improvising. About the major problem, though, my surgery. For those who don't know, about 3 weeks ago now, I snapped my collarbone in half. I fell on the ground, I passed out, and I fell on the ground and I snapped my collarbone. 2 weeks ago, I got surgery. I have two metal plates now in my body that have multiple screws inside of them. I am recovering well. I can lift my arm up, I can lift it to the side, I can do things relatively normal now. It still is pain there, but it's still there. I am recovering. Life is getting better in that regard. Just for those curious, and why things have been slowed this week in the past about month here. You know, it's very difficult when your dominant arm is not able to move properly. But cool. We're going to move on to the quote-unquote first serious bit, which is addressing some issues. So, for those who may know, and for those who may not know, 2 videos have been delisted on the YouTube channel. I'm not going to say which ones they were. They were the same video, for those curious, due to unnamed parties and not enjoying those videos, and I do not want to get 5 a.m. DMs from them anymore. So, that's that. I've been debating on delisting a lot of Season 1 and Season 2's videos and remaking them. I would like to remake some of those very early videos I made from a couple years ago at this point, because I have changed, my process is different, the way I like doing things is different. I've maintained all of the files. I think this is an important thing when it comes to all the videos. I have backups of everything I've made. I think except the Morkborg video, yes, the very first video, I don't think I have that anymore, but I think about remaking them every now and again. I've made a little opinion on videos, on games that I think are good and get brought up, and I would like to talk about them more, but they were just a different process, different way, a different approach I made to the videos now. I'd like to rework them to make them more accurate to how we do things now. If that sounds like a good idea, tell me. If that sounds like a terrible idea, tell me that too. It's a very specific thing. Now, before we get into the unfun serious things, we have some Q&A. I asked my server about some Q&A, and we're going to do our best to answer these questions together, everybody, so get ready. So, favorite community moment with the server. Yes, my server, The White Room, you can join it down below. I would not recommend it if you are squeamish, though. Favorite community moment with the server. Various jams we've done. I'm very happy with some of the jams that have happened. I like the jams that people have made themselves. I would like to do more jams and a little bit more structured, I guess would be the proper term for it. I think having very structured jams and game jams in general to force people outside of their comfort zone is very good. I approach them as very open-ended. Maybe I shouldn't do that as much. I should be a little bit more focused. The last big jam went pretty well. I wrote something out for it. That was a Scribbles jam, actually. I wrote something out for it. It didn't get finished because Snap, Crackle, Pop. Yes, I would like to do some more jams with the server. I think that would be kind of interesting, and more jams with people in general. Who's my favorite YouTuber? My favorite YouTuber changes with the coming of the seasons. For those who don't know, I sleep listening to YouTube videos, usually like 3-hour-long Factorio playthroughs. I've been watching Doshington, I believe his name is, for a while on that regard. Very helpful. Fall asleep like a baby. As for YouTubers right now, I would say that my favorite YouTuber of all time is Defunct. I think everything he does is amazing. I love all his videos. I think it's pretty good. How I've been modeling or attempting to model my own videos after has been a lot of incognito mode, a lot of internet historian for those who don't know, trying to do a little bit more of the Mandalore thing. People keep saying, you're like the Seth Zine talk of TRPGs. I try not to look at it like that. I've been trying to focus more on being like Mandalore Gaming, trying to keep the cadence and be like, here's what mechanics are and stuff. That's just a me thing, though. I have dreams. I should harass Seth one of these days, though. I've actually spoken to him. He's a very nice person, by the way. When are we getting more gay wrestling TRPGs? Soon. Faster Than Lube is currently in the works there. If you pay attention to the website, I have taken down a lot of games. They're not gone, by the way. They're not gone. They got put in a shed, effectively, because they're old and chunky and they're awful and I need to fix them. Fixing them is going to take time. All the gotcha games are in there. I want to remake the Gotchiverse and make it 10 times even more about gay wrestling. Will you talk about X game? If you send it to me and it is interesting enough to talk about, I would love to talk about every single game that crosses my desk. Unironically, I would love to do that, but it's a lot easier said than done. Sometimes games don't have a good place in the case files. Sometimes they're just like other things. Like I don't really want to talk about multiple Cypher games because I've talked about Cypher games before and they don't really change all that much. Why don't you talk about like Delta Green? I'd like to talk about Delta Green, but do you put it in as its own thing? Do you put it in like a Call of Cthulhu case? And if you do talk about Delta Green, how do you make that interesting because people already play Delta Green and things like that? There's a lot of if and or maybe but perhaps statements because I like highlighting and talking about games that are not as common, not as seen as readily, or ones that are just older and people don't know about. So I try to focus on those ones first. Due to the underwhelming response to D&D 5.5 and Sigil crashing, what do you think about the industry going forward? I think the D&D 5.5 being a little bit lukewarm and the VTT, that was the Sigil it was called, the VTT there kind of collapsing almost immediately. We played with it a little bit on the server. Interesting ideas, zero payoff. Generally speaking, right now, actually even today while I'm recording this, a couple hours ago, they announced one of the Halo exec or a Bungie exec. Effectively, one of their guys from the digital marketing division is now heading up the D&D franchise, and they're saying, well, we're going to franchise it more. I think we're going to see that. I think D&D as a game is no longer going to be the priority. It's going to be D&D as the franchise. Dungeons and Dragons branded Band-Aids. Dungeons and Dragons branded McDonald's hamburgers. D&D branded fucking condoms or whatever. But that is kind of what it is. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't really know. We're not really going to feel the full effects of this for 5-6 years. Favorite TRPG, board game, war game. My favorite TRPG of all time is Rifts. Board games and war games. I have an affection for Catan. I know that is a very basic bitch move to say. I like board games. I want to play more board games. I want to play more table stuff like that, but it's easier to say, let's go play board games, than like setting everything up, getting people together, kind of doing the teach and everything. Then we have my favorite war game. I don't play that many war games. I used to play a lot when I was younger. I played a Necron's army back in the day with what I can best be described as jank ass fucking rules that were written by one of the guys I knew actually. Again, I would like to play more war games. I'd like to make more war games, board games, card games. I'd like to experiment more with it, but again, it's easier said than done in that regard. OSR shit brew or PBTA, gun to my head, I would pull the trigger and I would deal with it. Solo playing, group playing, currently playing. I have tried solo playing many times. It just isn't my thing. My current group, technically I have two groups playing a Pathfinder 1E campaign, Rise of the Rune Lords. Not Rise of the Rune Lords, it's Iron Gods. Yes, Iron Gods. We're playing Iron Gods. It's been pretty fun. We only had a session. 4th of July got in the way. I've got my quote-unquote main group. We've been playing Pathfinder 2E for a while. You all know my opinion on Pathfinder 2E and the rather complicated relationship I have with my friends in that regard. It's very weird. We did a Cruciform one-shot recently, which actually did not great, but it's working. Don't worry, Cruciform's still being made, everybody. Layout got hands, though. I'll say that. What is a TRPG? A TRPG is a tabletop role-playing game, and if you want me to be very specific about my doctrines on things, my very basic, I've got 5 main rules of what a TRPG really is there must be a structure to play, i.e. it's not just wishy-washy nothingness, you have to have rules. There must be a clear divide between a narrator, game master, dungeon master, and players. This is effectively trying to do do like experiences and like world building exercises, kind of stop that. I put those in their own little camp. I don't really think like The Quiet Year is a TRPG. It's a world building exercise book thing. So I kind of put those in their own little category. The system does not have a single kind of campaign. That's a similar thing with, you get things like Lady Blackbird, where you kind of put that off to the side, being like, you're your own thing, because you have one type of campaign, and that also makes sure that board war games don't have it anymore. The players have full control over their characters and ability to change. Very important little thing you don't think about, but it's, you are able to create your own unique character that has the ability to make choices independent of the narrator and the story of the narrator. Effectively saying, with certain games that are like, oh, here's like not a pre-generated character, but like here's like a manuscript game, for example. Do you call those TRPGs? Not really, unless there's like some very specific rules there. The rules include or imply a rule zero. Why I say about a rule zero, what usually happens is like board game RPGs, or games that call themselves that, like Mice and Mystics, for example. Mice and Mystics is a board game RPG. There's a GM and everything, but they follow very specific rules. Players follow very specific rules. There's something good about a rule zero that says, hey, there is power structures, there are ways for players to make choices that are not in the rules necessarily, and for the GM to interpret those rules, as well as, can we do this? Yes, we can do this. And don't forget about Rule 6, that rules are a meme. So those are my very basic structured elements to that regard. The hardest commission I've done, probably Dungeon Tactics. Eons ago, I was young and I was naive and I thought I could totally do everything. I've tried to rework Dungeon Tactics a few times. You might see on the website Dungeon Delvers. I've tried to rework it a few times. I know how to do it. It's just a time-consuming process. Hey, what kind of gacha slot protagonist would you like to be? I don't know. Gacha slot protagonists, there's a couple out there that make life a lot easier for others. I am not at limited to say anything of these for a variety of reasons due to not wanting to be a crab poster in that regard. D&D or Daggerheart, which would you like to work on? Gun to head, if you choose gun, you have to work on one in hell. It depends quite a bit if I'm being paid or not. If I'm being paid, yeah, give me those Hasbro benefits, baby. Both games are flawed in their own unique ways. When it comes to something like D&D, it's a lot different than the amalgamation of random shit that seemingly Daggerheart is. So if I were to be forced to work on Daggerheart, I would have to deal with Spencer. I'm sorry. Industry professionals you would like to work with and things. Generally speaking, I don't care. All I want in my life is I want an artist on retainer, I want an editor, and I want someone to tell me if I know what I'm doing. An emotional support animal of a person. That's all I want in my life. If I had that in my team, I'd be doing great. Best Uma Horse Girl. Special Week. Yes, it's Special Week, because Special Week's the protagonist, and I like her, and her story is interesting, and Special Week's story, even off the track, is interesting. The worst horse girl, though, is your favorite one. Yes, your favorite horse girl is objectively the worst one. How much to Gorbino me, senpai? You'd belong there. With the fun stuff out of the way, now we get to talk about the unfun stuff. So, I took a job. I got a job recently. Yes, real work. YouTube, Twitch, all that stuff. Guys, I make like, if I combine everything together, I maybe make like $30, 40, 50. I don't make a lot of money on this. I'm okay with that. I'm not like, oh, I gotta optimize my revenue streams or whatever. I don't when it comes to the videos. I do it because I like it. I like making the videos. I like talking about tabletop games. That's what I like doing. But so I took a job, and that job is in Japan. Yes, I am moving to Japan. Next week, actually not even next week at this point. I will be in Japan next week. I took a job there for a variety of reasons. I'm going to be teaching English. Yes, you can laugh, have no fear, I know. But I said to myself, I think I need to change something. I think I need to change me. I think I've been in a weird holding pattern in my life. So I said, hey, I got to do this. Have I told many people? I have told people in my server and people who know there. Now all of you know. Have I told my IRL friends, quote unquote? No. There's some very complicated things, very complicated feelings there. That's very difficult for me to talk about, generally speaking. In another world and another time, I might muse about it and my more advanced feelings of getting older. It's very complicated, very unfun feelings that you're not supposed to have as a grown-ass man at this point. But yes, I took a job there. So what's going to happen with the channel? What's going to happen with videos? What's going to happen with all that shit? Things are going to be delayed. Things are going to be a little bit more sporadic. That's, I think, the term there. I'm not going away. Notepad add-on is not quitting the internet. He is not graduating. He's not doing any of that shit. No, Notepad stands alone. The thing there is, instead of weekly uploads, you're going to get them, you might get 4 videos a month, depending on how my schedule goes. You might get them uploaded when they are done. To compensate, I might make them a little longer. I might make them a little different. I don't know yet. Will there still be streams? Yes, there'll still be streams. But again, instead of 2 every month, it's going to be 1 when I can get to it kind of thing. That's I think the core premise of this section is to say nothing's changing, but things are changing at the same time. Things are going to be changing in a more time-wise. Notepad add-on is not going to be on 24/7. Notepad add-on has a life now, and he has problems to worry about and things like that. Not kind of the freewheeling way I've been doing things for a while now, but I think it'll be good for me, and I think it'll be good for all of us. And yes, I will try to find as much JRPGs there. Game Market Winter is being held. I know exactly where it is, and I might attend it because I think that might be fun. But it is, I just want to warn everyone. I want everyone to kind of know ahead of time. Things are getting delayed, things are getting morphed and changed, and I'm still going to be here, but content will be slower. Content's going to be a little bit more sporadic. Probably schedules are going to be like monthly based at this point. Things will get done. It'll just be done at the beat of my drum rather than kind of the drum that I've set myself to. That's all, really. I think that's all I can really say there. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask. If you are my actual IRL friends and are very confused about some of my statements, talking about that's awkward and not fun, and it's very difficult for me to do such. So yeah, for others, again, I'll still be around. Next week is going to be a little sporadic. Probably it's just going to be me on my phone. But yes, I think we had a good time. I think we're going to still have good times. It's just entering a new arc. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for all my patrons. Thank you all my patrons. I love all of you guys. You guys are amazing. And thank you to everyone. I think all of you. Every single one of you, I want to thank you, because this has been a good time. I love what I do here, I love the people I interact with, and I love interacting with all of you. So, Godspeed, good luck, and have a wonderful rest of your day.